New York and on the new Hot 97 app. Ebro in the morning on Hot 97.
Ebro in the morning, Laura Stiles, Rosenberg. Our friend, Vic Mensa. Did you bring
Victor.
in this Macy's advertisement with you today?
I did, man.
The big home sale
The
at
big home
Macy's.
sale.
Nobody's about to clear this up.
Yo, he
Coming home.
He always brings coupons when he comes in.
Oh, man.
Thank you, man.
Wow, you're into a lot of things. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
Even making a punk album.
For sure.
93 Punks.
Yes, sir.
What sent you down this path from... You're still a dope MC. I listened to a lot of the records. I haven't listened to the whole album. You're still spitting on a lot of records, but you're also singing a lot.
Word.
You know what I'm saying? You get into lyrics, too. You know what I mean? What made you go more down this punk path? You've always incorporated some rock imagery.
Right.
But what made you go full down that path?
For a long time, people have asked me, would I ever do a rock album? And I always considered it, always thought about it, and made a lot of music, records that didn't really have a place in hip-hop albums or EPs that I've made in the past. They were kind of just stacking up. Mm-hmm. And, man, I was doing this 93 Punks clothing line, and at the same time, you know, creating new music, and I just kind of tried a different process and started doing shit based on concepts, you know, concepts and words on a page, as opposed to just rapping to a beat, because I never write raps down, you know? And so I'm thinking about things like Camp America and approaching, like, the situation with kids being put in cages at the border and trying to be subversive and listening to the dead Kennedys and shit, because that's what I listened to at that point in time, you know, a lot. And, man, the music kind of just was making its way in that direction. And it just made sense to me to make it its own entity. And I never really have seen music with real genre limitations. I remember I was playing shit for No ID. It was last year. And I was playing them stuff that was going to be on my Hooligans EP, and I was playing them stuff that was going to be on the 93 Punks shit. And I wasn't decided on making it a band or making it its own thing at all yet, you know? And No ID was the one who was like, yo, that's its own thing. And I really like that. Actually, that's my favorite shit of what you playing me. That's its own thing. Like, make that its own world, its own entity, so that, you know, you can be free with it, you know what I mean? And it doesn't need to be the same as your rap music.
You're not trying to fit in to
trying to fit those
force
joints
something
into,
over
you
here.
know what I mean? Into a rap album.
You know, hip-hop, whether people know it or not, has always been right, you know, or certain aspects of hip-hop and certain music in hip-hop has always been right there in many ways with punk and rock. You know, Beastie Boys was a punk
it's
band.
the same spirit, you know
It's the
what I mean?
same. And, you know, look, even Blondie and Grandmaster Flash and that whole Lower East Side,
That was tied
CBGB.
Well, that was all together, yeah.
It was
And
all
even matches like Rage Against the Machine.
Rage Against the Machine. Yeah.
Word up. Rage, I've been listening to so much, yo. I was like, I be running the hill by my crib and shit, so I'm running the hill, shirt off, bumping Evil Empire, or maybe it was Battle of Los Angeles, and Zach De La Rocha pulls up in a white Prius. Jumps out while I'm listening to the shit. So I'm running, Zach De La Rocha jumps out, I'm like, what up? You know what I mean?
That's so
Divine.
LA.
Oh,
That was divine right there.
Yeah, real talk. I like
dope.
had the shit on my phone. I'm like, I'm listening to you right now. He's like,
All right.
all right, stay up.
Yo, good looking. Thanks, bro. Does it ever annoy you that we live in a time that is as bad as things have been here in a very long time, and yet, unlike Woodstock, which is 50 years ago this year,
My mama went, by the way.
shouts to your mom, but this weekend
Yeah, she told me
specifically,
a story about it.
unlike 50 years ago, no one's particularly protesting shit.
Right.
The music that we love the most.
When you say no one, you mean the artists coming together in like a...
Big mainstream artists are generally just keeping things status quo. Even, honestly, the artists that we know are kind of politically aware who are mainstream, they're not really touching on that much either.
shit.
They talked about lightly, but no one's coming out. Ironically, God rest his soul, it was Nipsey Hussle and YG who made the most aggressive political song of the last few years. So does that frustrate you at all, that kind of culturally we seem to just be cool still being in the club and not really trying to protest?
I just think it's the reality of the moment, you know, because we live in this social media sensationalized, just constant media turnover, and we have a reality TV personality for president, and that lets you know, like, the tone is set, you know what I mean? And people are really more focused on the followers. They're more focused on a photo op than they are focused on social justice or change, you know, or even what's happening in the world around him. And I think you just get so bombarded and overwhelmed with news, with bad news. You know, the addiction is running rampant, and I think people are going to music like to kind of forget about it, which I don't think is necessarily the responsible thing or inspiring to me, because the shit that inspired me was what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like mass social change being reflected in music. But I kind of feel like we're regressing right now in a lot of ways as a society, you know? Or regressive parts of society are being put to the forefront. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think that goes back to the leadership convo, and it goes back to, you know, social media, right? Because we have facts that can show us how the regressive aspects of society are propagated into our faces through algorithms and social media.
Word.
That's fact now. Like, you know, whether you looked at the Mueller report, whether you watch documentaries, there's one on Netflix called The Great Hack. Like, it's been put in our face, these things, right? You and I spoke a lot about Kanye West and the meeting with Trump. That was the last time you and I think, had an interview, was right around that time. You didn't like it. You were very open, like, I don't like it. I don't like how it looks. I don't like the optics, but it's Kanye. I love the bro, but, and I think you even said to me, I'm going to figure out what's going on here because I'm not quite sure.
Don't know if I figured that out.
You didn't. That part didn't work out, huh?
But that was at the time, right? I don't think anybody has. But now we're watching Jay-Z, right? Who you're a Rock Nation. I don't know if you're still affiliated with Rock Nation. Has done a partnership with the NFL. We're all supportive of Colin Kaepernick. I stand with Colin Kaepernick. I don't watch the game. However, I understand what Hov is doing, and a lot of people are like, pick a side. They're pissed at me. They're like, how are you okay with what Hov's doing, but you're still standing with Cap? And I feel like you could do both. Where are you at on it?
That's the same way I feel, man. I don't have all of the information, but from the bits and pieces I've been putting together over the last couple of days running around, I, first of all, would be very surprised if Hov didn't go in there and go balls to the wall to get Kaepernick a job. You know what I mean? That's just the kind of person he is, and what I would naturally assume. You know what I mean?
Based on you working with him and knowing him personally.
Yeah, based on knowing him personally, but also look at what he's been doing. You know what I mean? All the shit behind the scenes, getting niggas out of jams. You know what I mean? When Nick's locked up, when Uzi's in his deal situation, when this guy's locked up. Hov has really been like going out his way constantly to get people out of, you know, out of the box when they've been locked up into some shit. And Kaepernick is definitely locked up into some shit. And I completely stand with Kaepernick. Kaepernick inspires me so motherfucking much. Wait, can I curse on him?
It happened already, so just keep going.
Okay.
Go with it.
Kaepernick inspires me so much, man, because Kaepernick has sacrificed everything.
He got us here.
For truth.
But this mainstream convo, you making the album that you're making right now, like if you think about everything over the last 3 years, Colin Kaepernick doing that got us to this.
And what you're saying about music not representing the time, you know, I think that right now we're in a place where with celebrity, all these worlds are parallel, you know, sports, music, and what Kaepernick is doing is like some Woodstock 60s, he's Nina Simone, you know what I mean, goddamn Mississippi, on a major level. And Nina Simone sacrificed for that too, if you remember, you know what I mean? It was not the same when she was doing that. You know what I mean? And that's what Kaepernick's going through. But to go back to the actual question, I completely stand with Kaepernick. And, man, you know, I think whatever Hov's intentions are, I don't know, but I do believe that they're coming from a genuine place, from a pure place. And I really would be very surprised if he wasn't.
We've been saying that Jay-Z earned a wait and see. He has earned a give him a you know what I mean? 100%. He has earned that.
Yeah. I mean, because he's got a lot of goodwill going around, you know?
Constantly. That's generally what he does.
And I learned that from him, you know what I mean? That's one thing I really learned from him is like, he's kind to people. He's cool to everybody in the room. Like, you know, this is the most famous rapper on the planet or whatever, and he'll come in this room and say what up to everybody, you know what I mean? He won't just treat people like anything other than human beings. And I think we should treat him like a human being, give him a second to cook. You know what I mean?
Well said.
Let him cook.
Something weird just happened. I saw somebody ride a motorbike I think I saw.
What, in our building?
Down the hallway.
There's an epidemic. See, they got their own ones of those now. The scooters.
What is that?
And
You sure it wasn't just an
scooters and
electrical
bikes,
scooter?
bird
Oh, maybe it was
scooters.
electric?
I seen a chick bring a bird scooter out of the building
Bike?
the other day. I'm like,
But this person wasn't with you who just rode by on a electric bike?
Can we find out?
I assume Vic brought
y'all know
this
I be
person.
acting up. Somebody move funny.
I
We
wish
don't
I
start
had
punching
one.
people in the face. I need to know what's going on with the electric bike.
Where did the bike go?
It went that
Video.
way.
Down to video?
No, he turned by the bathroom.
He works here? Who was it? Well, you can't snitch on them? They work here, right?
What?
But you know about this bike. All right, cool. I trust. He's
Well,
our
he's
brother.
keeping the bike
All right,
life
so
private.
He's good.
Whatever. All right, back to you. Listen, man, crazy shit happens up here sometimes. You better be on your toes.
All right,
Get some
Vic, I
information.
saw a headline, that it said like a landlord is pissed that you could probably boot your charity's office out of the building because he felt that your video was discriminatory against white people. And he's
one?
specifically
Damn, man.
talking about
Camp
an
America.
image, the image where he puts white kids in uniform and in cages and
Oh yeah, they
aluminum blankets.
treated like the people who are trying to come here for asylum.
Right. So
and
basically
immigrating.
just switching roles for, I mean, obviously I get it. It's the imagery of trying to see like what if it was your kids that were
That's
in
right.
there, right? But how many people have missed the message? Because, I went down, I started like looking up stuff. There's a lot of people who are just stupid and don't get it.
Yeah, man, I think that's the thing about making polarizing art, is that not everybody's going to understand it. I will say that I went to Pilsen the other day, which is one of the, biggest Mexican neighborhoods in Chicago, and I was the man in Pilsen.
They get it.
Yeah, they get it. They rock with that. I mean, they appreciate. I have people and not just Latinx people, but definitely Latinx people, all the Mexicans and Puerto Ricans in Chicago and places that I'm going. It's like people coming up to me being like, yo, thank you so much for that. Like, for representing us, for putting our struggle into the forefront of your music and dedicating yourself to that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yo, your video, that Camp America video, when I posted it on my Instagram,
right, it got taken down.
they
and
kept
everything.
taking that shit down.
Which one? His
His Camp
video?
America joint.
They were pulling it?
They were pulling it, and I thought I was tripping. I was like, didn't I put this up already? I put it up again. It disappeared.
Yeah, man.
Well, is it because of
I
like
think it was something
copyright
with the
stuff?
territories or something. No, I don't know. They're gonna find a way. You feel me? Like
They didn't take yours down.
They
though.
tapped in. No, they didn't take mine down.
So maybe it was the music that was in it. They were saying I was using music that wasn't cleared on my page.
Yeah, I think it might have been the UMG. But there was a few situations of that. And in general, like I said, it's polarizing. So different people understand it and some don't. So the situation with the landlord was hectic because, man, we had been doing Complex Con. I was doing it with the clothing line and my nonprofit. And so we had the whole nine. We unloaded into mad trucks and take the stuff over to our office, which we're just moving into now. So we're like, finally, get these keys, unload, and really have a home. And so Londi, the director of my foundation, Native American Woman, walks into the man's office, a man named Jim Mason. He owns a bunch of properties in Little Village and Pilsen, the Mexican neighborhoods, the Mexican neighborhoods. And yeah, the dude, he's a firefighter. So she goes into his office in the fire station, and he's turned up. He's like, oh, you work for Vic? I can't see how y'all be doing good at all then, because he's disgusting. He's a pig. He's a disgusting pig. I saw what he did with those kids, and that's racist against white people. And I don't appreciate racism against white people. And Londi tried to tell him, yo, it was an artistic statement. He was trying to say that what's happening at the border is not okay. And the dude was like, what's happening at the border is none of my business. And he had a sign on his wall that said, if you speak Spanish, go back to Mexico.
Wait, and he's the landlord in a Mexican neighborhood.
He's a white landlord in a Mexican neighborhood, and he's also a firefighter who's responsible for saving the lives, undoubtedly, of Mexican people. And he has a
that's
sign on his
so
wall
scary.
that says, if you speak Spanish, go back to Mexico. These people are coming out the woodworks, and TBH, if they don't get my message,
TBH
it
meaning
doesn't
to be
keep me
honest.
up at
right.
night.
Right. Right. You don't care. Those people aren't going to get your message.
Nah,
Why
I mean,
would-
if he doesn't get my message, it doesn't keep me up at night because I could hear him on the other side of the phone. I had just got home, and I could hear him on the other side of the phone, and he was just on repeat. When people are stuck in a mind frame and you try to have reasonable discourse with them,
Yeah, you
but
can.
they're just like, it's racism. It's racism against white people.
Well, that's
These are disgusting pigs.
That's where Ebro and I talk about this sometimes. One of the things that people need to understand is discourse can happen with a big part of the population. Like there's a part of the population that has supported Donald Trump that feels iffy about some of the things he does, but they like him for other reasons. There is discourse to be had there, and be like, you could find reasonable qualities in those people. The people who are sitting there with the black Donald Trump flag on their lawn and MAGA hats 24/7, and what they directly love about him is the racism and white supremacy.
And how antagonistic his whole persona is.
There's no conversation to be had. That is not where you're going to find middle ground with those people. I'm sorry, you're not going to. We can only try to talk to the people who may support Trump and the racism is there and they somehow give it a pass.
It's so hard to even think about talking to him, but you're right though. It's real. You know what I mean? It's easy to check out and be like, ain't no words. You know what I mean? That's a fade damn near,
Right.
But
but for that dude, it is a fade. The dude you just described?
Well, no, because that's
fade.
more sinister. You own buildings. You're a firefighter.
No, that's the definition of
That's
racism.
the craziest part.
we
You're
on
supposed
this
to
Then
be
the
saving
sign on
lives.
top of that.
we on his heels. He got some funny finances going on. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, you poked around a little bit.
Yeah. Listen, the refocus of a Vic Mensa after years of making great music and going this far, and now seeing you in this clear state of even having purpose now, right? Because I think in this 93 Punks, with this album, with the song Camp America, and then what was the video where you're fighting Mike Pence? What's the name of it?
Yeah, sober.
Yeah. I think it's helped you find some purpose and some, that I don't think you necessarily had a few albums ago.
Word up. I mean, like, I was on like the real topical political tip like a few ago, and man, this kind of was picking up where that left off in a way, and I wanted to be intentional, and I wanted to be extreme. I wanted to be conceptual, subversive, all these things, just to keep it interesting for me. You know what I'm saying? And man, it's a lot of fun to make music about some shit. It's just like it's an added layer to me of interesting. You know what I mean? I have a good time with it, especially if I could be like having an energy. We've been doing these shows at my crib called the Silver House. Probably gonna move it out of my crib now because there was
got a little
helicopters and hella police outside by the time we started performing yesterday or last week. But the energy be electric. Greasy Will thought the floor was about to break, and he's like, the floor. It's loud as hell though, so I don't know what he's talking about, pointing at the ground. I'm like, yo, this shit is really like.
You have an actual stage set up?
No.
It's the floor in your house?
In my living room.
It's like an old Bad Brains video where Bad Brains is just performing in the middle of some house party and there's
Right.
snow.
That's what it's like?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly, man.
That's fire.
And it's like, yeah, dude, that energy, and then having there also be an element of reality. I always try to do that in music. Whatever it is, it's not got to be personal. Angela Davis says the personal is always political. So I've done albums that have just been completely personal. And they had their, commentary, because that's what music is to me. That's what I write for, is commentary, to explain my perspective. But it was all about me. It was just personal. This, I think, is a mixture of the both.
Have your political views cost you at all in your career?
Yeah, 100%. Cost me relationships, like powerful relationships, you know what I'm saying?
You went to Palestine.
Yes, I did.
You came back very vocal about it.
I had to, man.
How did that play out amongst your collective entertainment industry group?
Yeah, man, I went there, and the moment that I went there and started posting things, immediately, people were hitting me like, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that,
Shouldn't be pointing out the truth.
And I'm posting pictures that
Real
I'm
life,
taking.
right? This is facts.
I'm here. I'm
Right.
seeing it with my own eyes.
I'm posting the pictures I'm taking on my phone. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. And when I was in Palestine, though, I was in this Bedouin refugee camp. And these are a nomadic tribe that live so simply, man. Like, literally build huts with, like, sheets of metal and have outhouses and got their animals. And, man, these people's toilet that was donated by some European nations, it was solar powered. The government of Israel keeps knocking it down, won't even let them have like an actually built toilet. People from the settlement up above them keep coming and destroying the school that they've created out of rubber tires. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. And I'm sitting there, and an old man with a face of leather was like kind of skeptical of us. And he wanted to know that we weren't there on some voyeuristic tip, you know? And he's like, do y'all just want to come see and come watch this? Or do you actually care? You know, do you want to just see our pain? I know we feel like that when we see ourselves on the news constantly being killed. Sometimes it makes you question, do you want to just see our pain? Or
I feel like that when I see double-decker tour buses go down 125th Street in Harlem. And I'm like, y'all just coming to look at poor black folks, huh?
I don't think that's what
I don't know, that's not the intent.
No.
But
There's a lot of
that's
history
how
on
it
that.
comes
it's
off.
a real thing,
Got
but, you know, I digress, man. I told the man that I would tell the world what I seen when I came back to
And then some
America.
people said you shouldn't tell the world about this.
Well, I had already started telling the world, but
That part.
Too late. And written an article, written a
but
great
now
article
it's
about
deep,
it.
because now you're
was
showing real life.
Before
and-
that part, but yeah, I mean, you know, I wrote the article, and man, you know, people obviously are very polarized on the issue, and if you have an opinion, it's most likely a strong opinion.
Great
And
point, yeah.
Oftentimes, that gets me to bump heads with people. But, you know, as we were saying before, the way I break it down is just purely an oppressive state and poor people. You know what I'm saying? It's a similar model to America, just without the mass genocide. You know what I'm saying? You have a rich, powerful, mainly white state that's stepping all over poor brown people. You know what I mean? That's America. And I live in America. I'm super critical of America. Does that mean I hate you for being an American?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't get along with the government, the governmental policies of America, but you don't need to feel like I want to kill you because I say burn the White House down.
Right. And the government in Israel, which is more reflective of Donald Trump's America than it is the people of Israel.
Well, that's his people.
Right.
You know, what was crazy was, you know, my guy at the time, he was like, what, I really want you to see both sides. You know what I mean? I want you to see the other side. And I was like, you know what? I'll take you up on that. You know what I'm saying? I respect you. And he put me in tune with, like, minister of propaganda from Israel, like secondhand to Netanyahu. And I went with a bunch of questions. I'm like, man, let me see what you got to say about this, because I
So
can't.
what'd they say?
Yo, so one of my questions I went
Minister
with.
of Propaganda.
Right.
By the way, that's not his title, but I love the title.
That is the title, though, really.
But that's
Definitely
basically
his
what they
title.
doing.
Oh, point blank. And man, when I was in Jerusalem, so I saw this kid getting beat up by the police, and I was wondering what he might have done. They said he might have fucking thrown something, or I don't know, being suspected of throwing something. You can't throw rocks out there. And then a Jewish guy walks by me with a yarmulke and some flip-flops and an M16 open carry, just like pimps by me. And I was like, oh, that's what's going on. And I learned that in Jerusalem, there's mandatory minimum sentences for throwing stones. And obviously, we live in America where people shoot each other all day long, and it's hard to fathom a mandatory minimum sentence in prison for throwing a rock. I'm like, how are they gonna explain this? You feel me? Like, coming from a nation where you can legally carry firearms. So I go to the minister of propaganda, and I'm like, mandatory minimums for throwing rocks, my guy. You know what I mean?
And this dude's got an M16.
Yeah, and this thing kept, you know what I mean?
What was the reasoning? What was the reasoning behind it?
He proceeds to tell me how big the stones could be.
Yo, you ever been hit by a stone? It really hurts.
He like, you kept real big stones. I'm like, man.
You're like, listen, bro, no one's doubting that getting hit with a stone in the face would definitely be an unpleasant situation. But that dude's carrying an M16. Doesn't that sum up the entire problem?
I was just like, okay, so you got answers for everything. You know what I mean? That kind of really sums up the whole problem.
I remember being a kid in Israel and my parents picking up a soldier to give him a ride, and him sitting in the backseat of our car with an M16.
And the guy I'm talking about wasn't even a soldier. He was just a civilian.
Well, I wonder because
flip-flops.
everyone serves in the military, so I
But
wonder
they're
how it
all
works
in-
after you
they're all
serve.
Right, yeah. Cause,
Like, can you then still carry because you
Right.
were active military and now you're reserves?
Right.
Everyone's reserves.
But now what you're talking about is almost like a grandfather clause.
Right.
Where it's like, since everyone has to serve, then everyone who serves, who's Israeli, gets to carry weapons.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but if that is,
But
how it works.
I'm going down the path of what you're saying.
Right.
And so Palestinians will never serve. Or other people who aren't Israeli will never serve. So they'll never be able to carry weapons also?
I don't know. I just
Based on that.
man, I seen some crazy happenings out there. I can't curse, right?
You can. You've already done it.
Oh, okay.
It's too
Fuck.
late.
Like
fucking
many
do it.
times.
Okay, cool. Now I see some crazy shit out there, man. You know, I was in this place called Hebron, and Hebron is like heavily occupied by the Israeli government, and I'm walking with my group that brought me there, and our Palestinian tour guide, and the homie Booze, who's Palestinian from Detroit. Shout out to Booze. Congratulations on your wedding. You know what I mean? And we're walking through the street on Hebron, and the guards or soldiers, the soldiers stop us, and the Palestinian tour guide of ours, he starts engaging with him. It seemed like he was kind of prodding him to show us what he would do with very little provocation. And well, he just wouldn't let him come through. And then a settler jumps out of a truck and runs up to us, and he's like, okay, look, Arabs come down this street, they make terrorist attack. So this street, no Arabs, only for Jews. You're American, you could come. And that's the mind fuck right there, you know? Being put in a place where you're not the nigga. You know what I mean? The niggas is the Palestinians. And it's an overt brand of racism that in America is really reserved for like Native Americans and I guess now Mexicans.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Straight up, you can't come down this street because of your ethnicity. This street only for my ethnicity. So seeing shit like that, when I talk to people about Israel, Palestine, you know, obviously I try to be respectful because people got skin in the game and they got families that have been killed, and that will actually condition your mental processes and make it harder for you to recognize what's like a very clear game of power and oppression. You know what I mean?
But the reason I refuse to forgive that is that like, I have the same skin in the game. I have family that went there after the Holocaust. I understand its importance. My father's probably been there 40, 50 times. 'Cause a lot of people, you know, talk about Israel, never really go. And they'll tell you they love Israel. You're like, when was the last time you were in Israel? It's all a political idea that they've come to appreciate. My dad's been going there since the 60s, literally the entire time, and watched Israel become politically a disappointment as the years went on. So I don't understand, like, all Jews basically have skin in the game in Israel, and we all agree that its existence is important and necessary. But that doesn't give you carte blanche to just act however you want on anything. In fact, if you want to be honest, your insistence on behaving however you want is what leads to potentially the most danger and peril as time goes on, and us putting ourselves back in the crosshair of danger. That's how I try to view it for people, is like, you think that the people who support you in Washington, you think the Donald Trumps and the Jared Kushners and this Christian right that claims to love Israel, you think they're not going to turn on us and throw you right back in the ovens?
Oh,
you think that won't
100%.
happen? You think they won't turn on everyone again and be like, oh,
Real
I know
talk.
we said we were cool with you. What we meant was we needed Israel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah,
just...
they don't love y'all.
They do not love you.
They turn on
love
Rosenberg
Jerusalem.
and call him a Jew and all type of shit as soon as the white supremacy shit Lights
What?
out.
I'd be like, if I tried to like, sneak in, like go in whiteface and be like, I'm here at the meeting, I'm there, and I'm like, oh, we're all good, right? We're all together, we're pro-Israel,
We're
blah,
white,
blah.
I'm white.
And I'm white, I'm with you guys. At a certain point in the meeting, they're like, all right, now we need the Jews to leave. We're gonna do the real white meeting now. And I'm like, no, but I thought that we, with the Mexicans, no, sorry. We're down to just the
terrible.
whites now. So that's what scares me, and I don't see why people don't realize that and understand that if you're not protective about how Israel governs itself, you're putting yourself in a very precarious situation.
Man, I was telling a homie last night, I made this analogy for him. Liberia, a nation of free blacks that came from America. That when they touched down in Africa, enslaved other Africans. Israel, Palestine is, in a lot of ways, Israel using the pain of the Holocaust to do some of those same things to a new people. Like I saw homes that were marked, Palestinian homes marked with stars of David. And I'm sitting with the woman who's lived there for 50 years, and she's just trying to hold on to her crib. They're like, we're coming for you. We're coming for your home.
What does that mean when they mark the home?
They're coming for it. I mean, they marked the Palestinian woman's home with the Star of David saying this will be a Jewish home. We've moved in upstairs and next door. We throw trash into your courtyard every day. Just know we're not going to give up. We're going to take this home because this is our land.
Right, that starts to feel remarkably similar
That's
to
very
other
similar
things.
to things that have happened in the past.
And
That's
how
all.
disrespectful is it to the people who died in the past
It's not right. No.
to do the same thing to other
horrible.
people?
Shout out to Ilhan Omar and AOC and Rashida Tlaib for standing strong, because they're being made the scapegoat of a lot of things, which is so interesting to me, because when they got into office, I was like, yes, people that look like my family and my friends, in positions of power. And I was like, these are heroes, you know what I mean? And seeing the way that they're villainized in the media is like, it's kind of crazy, you know?
Because they're afraid of them.
Because they're telling the truth.
Yes. The same reason people were afraid for you when you're posting what you're seeing with your own eyes.
Right.
That right there, when people tell me not to talk about things that I saw with my own eyes, is right when I start talking about it more.
Right. Oh, I need to talk about this.
Wait, I'm not allowed to talk about what I saw? Nah, bro. That right there is a fraudulent behavior. Your whole platform is fraudulent from then. If you're trying to sell me that there's two sides to this, when you are in power, comes with great responsibility. Israel is a very powerful nation and has a lot of very powerful support. They have a responsibility to make sure that the oppressed are treated correctly. And that goes for America.
Keep pressing them, though.
Yeah. No. Keep them pressing.
Definitely don't let up on the oppression. But
Right. But be nice.
Treat them good.
No.
But you feel what I'm saying? You
I
have a
feel-
responsibility to change this.
But the thing is that that's not what it was set up to do. You know what I mean? It was set up on top of the Palestinians.
I think in all fairness, and this is me speaking out of school, but in all fairness, I believe that originally it wasn't about fucking over Palestinians. It wasn't about thinking about
it was
their
about
feelings
finding
at
a
all.
home for
it was
the Jewish
just about
people,
our
regardless
home.
of the
Right.
existence of
Right.
Palestinian
So it wasn't-
people. Even though they did firebomb villages, and I, listened to a firsthand account from a woman that was around in '48 when, when they peacefully took over or some shit,
right.
and they burned down her whole village and killed her family in front of her. You know what I mean? And then
You feel like the decision to pick a place to go, that when everyone got together and was like, let's pick a home for the Jews after the Holocaust, they might have wanted to do a little bit more research about who had already been in that place.
Yeah,
but I don't think
talk to those people.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
before
and they
you-
wish they did, I'm sure, and they were like, no.
Yeah, but it's, once again, I can't believe that it's not more sinister than that, because it caused a destabilization of an entire region that people who are in power wanted access to.
who stand to benefit the most from getting someone to be an ally in the middle of that region?
Well, the United States and the UK are the ones that
The United States
that
and the
did
UK.
that. It was the British
Oh,
mandate.
you mean the nations that were right on the verge of needing tremendous amounts of oil to finance the rebuilding after World War II.
Oh, you mean the same two places that have basically been doing this around the world always? That's interesting. The UK and the United States, they were the ones. So we're really, the Jews ended up being the pawns in the game also of being like, you know what, we're going to put you right over here. Don't you have a lot of history here? Oh, it's so funny. The Christians have a lot of history here too. It's just, there's so much shit. And I do feel for I feel, of course, empathetic for my fellow Jews who have a love for Israel because of, and by the way, Israel's a beautiful place with amazing people. But the whole situation from the beginning is inherently flawed from how it was created.
Manifest destiny. You know what I mean? If you don't believe that Native Americans should have been slaughtered in genocide in America, then you shouldn't believe Palestinians should be displaced there. That's all.
That's a good bow to put on.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But like you said though, a lot of good people get caught in the crossfire of it. On the real side, like my homie who I was talking to yesterday, who told me he's Israeli and he does all my playback and sound. He was like, man, you know, most of the people in Israel like do not want the Palestinians to be.
Well, they tried to get Netanyahu out of there just recently with the vote. They tried.
He's not the guy. Netanyahu's a lot of cap.
Super.
Big
cap.
I didn't say it.
Big cap. He's just the face of the issue.
Yeah, man. Well, no, I'm saying
he's the issue. I mean, he's
the issue, definitely.
He has helped change the people. Like I think in America, Trump is not the issue. He's the issue that makes people feel comfortable with these feelings.
A wild guy, man.
He's just he's a wild lunatic who's willing to do anything. I think if Trump had found that the left-wing politics would have worked to make him president at that time, I think there's a chance he could have taken that route because his goal was power completely and he has no morals or scruples at all. In the case of Israel, though, I wonder how much Netanyahu directly sort of affected the people as time has gone on. I mean, there's been an undercurrent of it always, but it does feel like he has sort of dictated where the nation has gone. Whereas I feel that Trump, frankly, just represents the anger that this country had after we had a black president.
Oh, yeah, they mad.
They were so mad about really having a black leader. He just came in and was like, don't you guys hate that? Same, it's Hitler shit.
They gotta be mad about that, though. I mean, imagine that, you know? You get sold this whole dream of white exceptionalism, and then you just happen to look up on the TV and it's a nigga, you know, doing layups.
picking NBA, NCAA brackets.
You feel me? Like, they were swag surfing in the White House.
Right.
When they did that one party, and they were swag surfing in the White House, I knew right then and there, I was like, oh, this about to go bad.
You can't swag surf in the White House.
No, you got to swag surf it in the White House. You really turned it to the Black House one time.
Yeah, and he did. Didn't he install a basketball court?
Layups, three,
windmills.
No, like Nicki Minaj and Rick Ross were hanging out at the White House. What's
swag surfing?
Everybody went to the White House.
Swag surfing in the White House. You think they was gonna let that slide?
No, here we go. Donald Trump, thanks.
That's where we at, though. You know what I mean?
Thanks, Swag Surf.
Yo, Vic Mensa, man. New project out. 93 Punks. Go get it. That 3-year sober video, amazing. Camp America, amazing.
Good luck with the feedback from this video. I look forward to it as well.
Right. You know, it's extreme. It's like,
well, they've been marketed the same way white exceptionalism was marketed here in the United States. What's going on in Israel and the way a lot of people who love Israel, they were marketed an idea, right? That idea is now showing that there was cracks and issues hidden from them. Accepting those issues and then addressing them, we haven't figured that out in the United States. This thing is a couple of 100 years old.
right.
You know what I'm saying? And we're just now getting to some of it. Israel's gonna have the same reckoning. They're gonna have to deal with this shit. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you wanna look at it, it's happening in real time right now with social media. And you have young Jewish people who are very disappointed in Israel. and you have the rest of the world looking at it.
Sounds familiar.
Word up.
Sounds like
There ain't
this
no
guy.
way around it.
Yeah, I mean that shit is definitely coming more into public prominence, which I think is important, man. Like, I applaud you for having this platform and you for having your platform for real. Y'all two is some real niggas.
Shit's crazy out here, right?
It's crazy how that works.
Yo, y'all give it up one time. Vic Mensa, man.